Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. We got a great show today, and it's mostly thanks to all of you in the chat. Hello, Freddie Bear. Hello, Mr. Pig, CLE fan, Rick Funcannon, Farzad is in here, Mark Hood is in here. Good to see everyone. It's good to see winning recap screens because we haven't had a losing one for a week and a half. Let's see how we did yesterday. It wasn't a recap screen to throw a parade for by any means, but 4-3 again. Another winning day. Shout out to Mackenzie Brooks, 2 for 2 on her NBA props. You absolutely love to see that. The SportsLine picks go 1 for 2, and Buckets goes 1 for 2. But don't forget, those were both plus money plays, plus 150 and plus 110. Absolutely love going 1 for 2 in that type of setup. Speaking of buckets, speaking of Mikey Barner and NBA props, and we got college basketball conference tournament starting, so we got to have Tom Casale. It's Mikey B, it's Tom Casale, it's Buckets Tom. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited? Like, this feels like the start of like the NFL playoffs for big NFL fans. Is that what it feels like for you for college basketball?
Yeah, we're there. I mean, it's March. Tomorrow is the start of it. Like today's games, I'm sorry, are garbage. Like Notre Dame and Pittsburgh, Cincinnati and Oklahoma State. These are teams that, barring a miracle like NC State last year, are going to get hammered tomorrow. And you know what I mean. So it's kind of today's like you get your setup going, you get everything ready. You watch a little basketball, but tomorrow we really dive in and start what I consider March Madness.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't forget about NC State last year, Tom Casale. We were saying that about them. They opened up, I believe, against Louisville in one of these meaningless first-round games and then ran the table. I mean, is there room for perhaps an FSU, who I might have a pick on later in this show, to make a couple-round run, or probably not, right?
Well, if it was going to happen, it would be in a league like the ACC. It's not going to happen in the SEC. Those teams are too good, right? So we know Duke is probably going to be in the finals, so let's put them there. So, but the rest of the ACC is down. So that's how I kind of look at conference tournaments. If you're looking for one of those sleepers or a miracle runs, look in maybe the Big East or the ACC. It's not going to happen probably in the Big 12 or the SEC.
All right, maybe my Hoyas in the Big East. Buckets, we've got Chris George in here. He says, already watched Stoppage Time. Ready for the footy picks for the Early Edge family. I don't want the picks quite yet, but are we going with some plus money plays? How's the card looking today?
We are keeping this rolling exactly how we did yesterday. I will have 2 wagers for everyone here today. Both are plus odds. Sia, I kind of like doing that. 50-50 doesn't sound so bad when you're still making money.
I mean, it's exactly right. You go 1 for 2 and everybody makes money. That's what. Listen, the name of the game, there's 2 things, right, Buckets? We talk about this a lot. You tweet about this a lot. It's to have fun. We want to have fun doing this. And we also want to make a little bit of money. I think the first one is more important than the second one. But again, at the end of the day, we are trying to make money doing this. Mikey B, speaking of making money, it feels like maybe today is not the NBA slate to like go all in on. It's a weird NBA slate, correct?
Yeah, it's not pretty. There's only 4 games. 2 of them have massive spreads, potential for blowouts. So today's a day where maybe just bet a little bit and then save up. There's a much bigger and better slate coming tomorrow.
All right, bigger and better coming tomorrow. We're also going to have a lot of commentary, a lot of shows. Probably we might even open tomorrow with kind of some NFL free agency recap stuff, but I do want to get into picks today. We're 4 minutes into the show. There are a lot of college basketball picks, Tom, particularly Joe Neuenfeld and some others who like St. Mary's tonight. We're going to get to that later in the show, some college basketball to talk about. But let's kick things off, pun intended, with soccer, with Buckets. What you got, Buckets?
Let's get after it, Sia. We're going to start with a Champions League fixture between Liverpool and PSG. And this is a bit of a tricky one, but it is the second leg, so we know what the motivation should be on both sides. And PSG, man, they're in a tough spot right now. They've had to spend the last week listening to a-holes like myself talk about how disappointing they've been and talk about how they let everyone down, because in the first leg, PSG had some of the craziest stats ever and still lost. They lost 0-1 to Liverpool in a game in which Liverpool had only a single shot on target, and PSG had over 70% possession, 27 shots, and 10 on target. PSG are coming into this match with not 1, not 2, but a whole army of chips on their shoulder as they look to prove everyone that that they are still one of the better sides and that they are capable of shutting Liverpool down. I'm going with a weird one here, and Sia, I'll have to help you on the recap screen. We are going with Kavica Kvaratskhelia to score or assist at plus 140. In an interview, he said that this is the single most important game he has ever played in. And in the first leg, he had 4 shots on target. He needs to make something happen because PSG need 1, 2, probably 3 goals here if they want to get past Liverpool and qualify for the next round. Second play, much easier to pronounce. We're all happy about that. We're looking at the championship fixture between Derby County and Coventry. And Coventry right now are hotter than a quark gluon plasma created by the Large Hadron Collider. Sia, I know you know what I'm talking about right now. Coventry side is in incredible form, not defensively, but offensively, incredible form. My plus odds wager here is going to be Coventry to score in the first half at plus 110, something they've done now 6 times in their last 4 matches. And Derby County have conceded in 18 of their last 20 games. Coventry should score 2, 3, or 4 goals here. We just need 1 to come in the first half, like they've been doing all summer long. Summer, fall, where are we? All month long. There we go.
I'm more interested, Buckets, in the physics lingo. What was that? The Hadron Collider. Where'd you get that from?
I Googled hottest thing in the world, and after I got past the first couple pictures of you, it said a quark gluon plasma, which was created in the Large Hadron Collider.
I think it's Hadron Collider.
Okay.
But either way, that's actually really impressive. I only know Hadron. I could be wrong about that because I used to watch Big Bang Theory. Like, I thought the first few seasons of The Big Bang Theory were actually really funny, and then it kind of got bad. Any Big Bang Theory fans in the chat? Mikey B, you're not nodding your head. Tom, you're not nodding. You guys just probably never watched that show. It wasn't like the highest brow comedy necessarily. No,
I watched it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I also watched Young Sheldon.
Is Young Sheldon good? I just figured it wasn't.
When he's little, it's good. Then he gets older, and it's, when kids grow up on TV, they're not as funny. But like the first 3 or 4 seasons are funny. My kids watched it, so I watched it with them.
Junior Hunt says Big Bang Theory is the number 2 show all time for him. By the way, I did for those of you that haven't seen it, please check this out. I did a 4-part series with Pat Mayo. It was a sitcom bracket, like a March Madness bracket. I literally ranked 64 sitcoms, and we went through it. Pat Mayo had his people like voting like each round, like literally voting each round. We whittled it down to the final 4, final 2. Those podcasts and shows are still available. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know. I think Big Bang Theory was like a number 4 seed, and most people, maybe a number 3. Probably number 4. Most people hated that I had them rated that high. So can't go wrong with The Office. Office was in the final 4, Brian Smith, just so everybody knows, along with Seinfeld. I'm trying to remember. I think South Park made the final 4. We'll get into all of that later. Speaking of programming, though, Tom, before you give out your picks, I do have to mention the conference tournament sweats promo with Chip Patterson, with Mackenzie Brooks. This is going to be really fun. I think it's going to be really exciting. They're going to be live sweating these games at 3:30 Thursday and Friday. Again, we're sweating conference tournament games live this Thursday and Friday. Watch live on the SportsLine YouTube page as Mackenzie Brooks, Chip Patterson, and a ton of other surprise guests sweat out their conference tournament bets on stream and talk about your live bets in the chat. It all starts Thursday at 3:30 Eastern time, only on the SportsLine YouTube page. And again, I think they're running it back Friday. Again, that's March 13th, March 14th. That's this week on the SportsLine YouTube page. All right, Tom, speaking of college basketball, interesting. You're not going with a side. You're going with a prop. And what's so interesting is the prop is in the game that I'm betting later. What is it?
Yeah, so I don't have strong plays today, so I got a couple different things for people because I know everyone can't bet player props. Listen, I like Robert Morris to win the game. I didn't want to come on here with a minus 170 money line. They're 3.5. They play a lot of close games, but I do like them to win the game. They've only lost once since mid-January, so I saw a couple people in the chat on Robert Morris. I do like them. I like Dayton to win the A10 tournament at plus 440. I gave that out on Discord if you're part of the Discord. So there's a couple of things you can take. For my official play, I'm going to go with J.J. Starling of Syracuse over 17.5 points. Here's the thing with Florida State. They don't really have guards. Most of their players are like the 6'5", 6'7", lanky guys who dominate in the post. So they struggle with guards going to the basket. They also foul a ton. And sometimes in these early tournament games, the officials kind of take over. They're kind of slogs. There's a lot of whistles. And J.J. Starling has attempted at least 14 shots in 8 of his last 10 games. Syracuse doesn't have a lot of scoring options. I do think this will be a faster-paced game. So I look for Starling. No matter who wins this game, Sia, I think he gets to 18 points.
Talk to me about, and we'll talk a little bit more about that game in a little bit, but talk to me about St. Mary's and Gonzaga. I believe that game, I'm not sure what time that game is being played, but I'm looking at it now. A lot of people like it. I'm looking at it. It's 9 o'clock. It's down to 3.5 now. Some people getting it at 4. Do you like Zags laying that many points? It seems like the chat is on St. Mary's because it's a good matchup.
Yeah, I don't like Gonzaga being that big of a favorite. The Zags' 3 best wins are over bubble teams in November. They beat up on tomato cans. In all seriousness, if they lose this game, if you took Gonzaga off their jersey and put Santa Clara on there, they don't make the tournament. I mean, where's the good wins? Baylor? Indiana? Where are they? They've been over. And listen, you know how much I have invested in Gonzaga. So, you know, but it's, at some point you got to open your eyes and face reality. Even last night, look at them. St. Mary's is a tough matchup because St. Mary's knows they can't shoot threes. And they say, go ahead and shoot them. We won't guard you out there. We're going to take away your 2-pointers. We're going to take away your transition game. And if you can make threes, God bless you. But they can't. So I would make that game St. Mary's -1. So 3.5 is good value, I think, with the Gales.
All right. Yeah, I think the chat very much agrees with you there. Maybe there'll be some official picks on SportsLine on that game. By the way, when I said, just so that we're clear, because I see that Ben put a poll in the chat and he said, hey, is Big Bang Theory a top 5 show all time? I said it was a 4 seed, which again makes it like a top 16 or whatever, top 20 show. I definitely don't think Big Bang Theory is a top 5 or top 10 show of all time, but I thought it was pretty clever, especially the first few seasons. Matt Severance, he's pretty clever. He's got a SportsLine pick. He's going with the Kings -1 at -114. That's our NHL pick, or at least that's the NHL pick for this show. You can get all the other NHL picks and all the other sports picks at sportsline.com, of course, but we're going with the LA Kings -1 at -114. All right. We got a bracket challenge we need to talk about before I give out my college basketball and my golf pick. Brackets are back, and you can get in on the madness today at the CBS Sports app. Enter the bracket challenge for the chance to win a new Nissan Armada and trips to the 2026 Final Four. You can also run men's and women's bracket pools with friends and join our pool. Play today on the CBS Sports app or visit cbssports.com/play to sign up. Again, that's cbssports.com/play to sign up. No purchase necessary. See terms and rules for details. I'm pretty sure we've got a bracket challenge for the early edge community. Buckets, I see you rubbing your hands together. Are you going to be in on this bracket challenge?
Dude, I'm going to look so good cruising downtown in my new Nissan Armada. Are you kidding me, Sia? Of course I'm going to be a part of the challenge.
Absolutely love to see it. All right, well, we're going to get to Buckets. I don't know if there's soccer questions in the chat that we can get to later in the show, but we got to get to my picks and Mikey B's picks. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
Dive into the biggest moments from the big dance with NCAA March Madness Bracket Breakdown, Sunday on CBS Sports Network.
We're back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM. A lot of the sitcom chatter is entering the chat. KC3 says, Big Bang falls in How I Met Your Mother Friends grouping. Not top 5 for me, but a good show. You can randomly turn it on without following the storyline. Yeah, I think Friends and How I Met Your Mother probably better than Big Bang Theory. How I Met Your Mother is a very underrated show. Absolutely love that show. Neil Patrick Harris is absolutely amazing in that one. All right, we could talk about sitcoms all day. I've done it before. I can do it again, but let's talk Florida State. Now, Tom, I do kind of want to get your feedback here because you're the guy that's putting college basketball picks out on the daily. I do like Florida State here -2.5, and I don't want to feed into the Leonard Hamilton narrative too much here. And by the way, this is -110. This has been kind of teetering in that 2.5 to 3 range, but you can get -2.5 at -110 at most places. Leonard Hamilton, obviously, it's his last season coaching. He's in his low 70s. The Florida State program hasn't really done that great. There is, if you want to go narrative shopping, there is the, hey, last hurrah for Leonard Hamilton and all that. And I do think there's something to that with these young kids that he's coaching. But more importantly for me is, we got a couple of guys that are really good for Florida State. Obviously, when you look at like Ken Pom and things like that, Florida State rates out better than Syracuse in a lot of metrics, particularly on the defensive end. I mean, Syracuse doesn't play a lot of great defense, but I love that Ewan is back in the lineup. Ewan was out for 2 weeks. He's back. You got Watkins, who was I think second team all ACC, a very good player. I think this is a very motivated team because of Leonard Hamilton, and we see that motivation with their win over SMU. And further motivation for me is that if they win this game, they play SMU in the second round. They know they can beat that team, potentially get to the third round against Clemson, and who knows, maybe make an NC State sort of run and get to Duke in the finals, and maybe, Duke gets upset, which probably isn't going to happen. But I do think Syracuse is a road to nowhere. Like, I just don't think they have any ideas of advancing in this tournament and getting far. I think it's different with FSU, especially the way they're playing. Syracuse has played well lately, rattling off some wins, some close losses. But either way, I just like the motivation factor. I like that Ewan is back in the lineup after missing a couple of weeks. And I think the star power is better on FSU. So give me FSU in Charlotte, neutral site, ACC tournament, -2.5. And then I'm just going to touch on a golf pick, which you're going to hear more about at 7 o'clock tonight during our betting show on this channel. That's, of course, the early wedge. I'm taking Brian Harman -140 over Sahith Theegala. More on this later. Jason Sobel is going to have his picks, Patrick McDonald, EC. But I think Sahith Theegala is just somebody to fade. I like Brian Harman's history here. I like his course makeup, his course setup here. So I'm taking Brian Harman. It's kind of juicy, -140 over Sahith Theegala. This is not a round one. This is not a round one matchup. It's a tournament matchup. Brian Harman -140. All right. It's enough talking from me. Mikey B, there's some questions in the chat related to some NBA props. Before we get there, though, talk to me about your NBA prop.
Yeah, I usually always try to come to the show with 2 picks, but I could only find one that I like this early in the morning, maybe more later going up on SportsLine, but we're not going to force it here. So we're just going to do Ivica Zubac over 18.5 points at -120. He scored at least 20 points in 4 of the last 6 games. Norman Powell out again for the Clippers. That's key. He has missed 9 of their last 10 games. In those 9 games, Zubac scored at least 20 points in 6 of them. Now, when he faced the Pelicans earlier this season, Zubac had 20 points. The Pelicans have allowed the second most points in the paint in the league. They also have the worst defensive rating in the league. So I think Zubac is going to have another big game here. We'll go over 18.5 points.
All right. I know we starred a question from Dano. Any thoughts on Tobias Harris over 8.5 rebounds and assists at even money? By the way, credit to Dano. If you're looking at his question, he couldn't have written it out any more perfectly. Very easy to read, and you're putting the juice, you're putting the price, which is obviously critical in the analysis. So if you can write a question like Dano, you all usually do really well with that anyway. But he even put the book he founded at BetMGM, which I absolutely love. Any thoughts on Tobias Harris over 8.5 rebounds and assists, Mikey B?
I don't mind it at even money there. There is blowout concern in that game. The Pistons are playing the Wizards. That's one of the 2 ugly games. The other one is the Cavaliers playing the Nets. So it's really, do you think that the Wizards can keep the game close for Harris to be in the game long enough to have an actual chance to hit this? I'd probably avoid it, but if you like it at +100, I don't mind it.
All right, we got Chris Kish in the chat. He's talking F1. If for those of you that don't know, Chris Kish is specifically, among other things, an F1 capper. So if he's got something in there, you might want to take a second or third look. Buckets, was there anything soccer related that you needed to address from the chat?
There are a lot of questions about the other Champions League fixtures going on today. We've got Barcelona, Benfica, Inter versus Feyenoord, and Leverkusen versus my beloved Bayern Munich. They're very tricky games today. To be honest, I like tomorrow's slate a lot better because with a home team is winning in all of these games but one already going into aggregate. So we're going to see some cagey, maybe low-scoring matchups. So just be careful when you're betting on these games, and do look for goals in Barcelona, Benfica specifically if you're looking for an over.
All right. Love the comment from Farzad Perorian, who says daily wedge is the best idea ever. Just a quick reminder, it's 5 days a week. Monday night at 7, it was me, Mike McLaurin, Rick Gaiman. Tonight, it's me, EC, Jason Sobel, and Patrick McDonald with our best bets. Joe Neuenfeld was watching the DFS show yesterday, and I remember I didn't verbalize this comment, but he said something to the effect of, if you've been watching the new expanded early wedge over the last 2 weeks, it's literally impossible for you to not have made money. not only are we winning our matchups and our finishing position bets, but this last week, I hit Carl Billups 70-1, which was given out really on every single Daily Wedge show, but particularly the Best Bets show at 7 o'clock. We hit, let's see, Patrick McDonald hit Sergio Garcia over and live at 25-1. Last week, Patrick McDonald hit 110-1 Joe Highsmith. I mean, we are hitting the outrights, which is crazy good, but we're also hitting kind of the meat and potatoes bets with regard to the finishing positions and the matchups, things of that nature. So dial in. Golf is a really fun sport to bet. It's generally like a 4-day sweat, which is something unique to sports betting. That goes for DFS as well. So if you're not tied into the early wedge, it's a lot of cool personalities, but a lot of great bets as well. Tom, was there anything, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, anything college basketball related you needed to address?
Well, just one quick one. Someone had asked why states don't have college player props. Mm-hmm. I can tell you right now, college player props is never going to be a big thing. We've seen issues in the NBA. I have more issue when they won't let me bet on Syracuse in New York. But the player props, and here's the thing. Listen, we've already seen, 3 or 4 college teams involved with gambling things this year. The NFL is not fixed. But are you telling me that one of these small college teams, you can't get to a couple? I mean, that's where I think the concern lies in terms of games. I mean, Eastern Michigan couldn't win a game. They got nailed for a gambling ring. They were like the best team in the MAC after that. So there was obviously something fishy going on there, right? Yeah. But I just, the way you can alter player props, you're just not going to see a big thing in college, in my opinion, unfortunately.
I tend to agree with that. I don't think much is fixed, but if you were going to manipulate something or try to manipulate something, it would probably be a college player prop market. All right. Joe Neuenfeld says, I bet college player props go away eventually. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. Hopefully we're wrong. Hopefully it's not easily manipulated. Wu-Tang says NFL is so fixed. No, it's not. It's not. I'm sorry. These grand conspiracies that you think 2,000 NFL players are in on. I just, I'm not buying it. He says soccer's not fixed though, Buckets. So that's good.
I love that because soccer has had multiple scandals this season where entire leagues have been charged for being fixed. But to be fair, at the top leagues, you're not going to see a lot of fixing in soccer. But if you go to things like the second tier Serbian league, you had multiple coaches fired this season for admitting to match fixing. So you just got to find the right leagues.
All right. Well, let's go out on that note and let's check out the recap screen. We're going for yet another winning day. I've got Florida State tonight, -2.5. That game's at 7 o'clock, -110. And I've got a matchup, which of course this starts Thursday, the Players Championship. This is a tournament matchup. Brian Harman, -140 over the Gala. More on the golf bets later on today. We've got Zubac over 18.5 points at -120. That's from Mikey B. And Jay Starling over 17.5 points. That's in that Syracuse-Florida State game tonight at 7 o'clock. All right. I'm going to give this a shot. Buckets picks: Liverpool versus PSG, Kavicka, Kvaratskhelia, TSOA, assist or to score or assist at +140. That was what? Did I get that like 80% right, Buckets?
You got the name perfect, but you missed TSOA, so that's tricky to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's my objection over TSOA. It should just be SOA. We don't need the 2 in the acronym. Derby versus Coventry. Coventry to score in the first half at +120. Another 2 plus money plays from Buckets in our SportsLine pick. We're going to the NHL. LA Kings -1 at -114. That is from Matt Severance. Ladies and gentlemen, what a show. We absolutely love to see all of you in the chat participating, but I love to see Mikey B, Buckets, Tom Casale on behalf of those 3, and of course, Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. It's been a great show. Let's make it another profitable show, another winning show, and let's have a great, Tuesday? Let's have a great Tuesday. We'll see you at 7 o'clock for the early wedge, and have a positive day, everybody. This is the Early Edge. My name is Sia Nejad, and we rest our case.